You found me. Welcome to your space on the internet called Ominously Positive, where we talk about dark subjects with an upbeat tone. No, we don't make fun of any situations, nor are we mindless consumers of murder shows. We are actually armchair detectives and advocates for true crime. If that's not your thing, just make like a tree and wave bye-bye. But please hit the like button on your way out and maybe share this with somebody who you think might enjoy some more factual or participatory sort of true crime. In a moment, we are going to talk about a highly sensationalized case, Tonya Harvey. I'm going to be dropping some big old content warning bombs on this. But before we get into that episode, let's go ahead and brush up on a few things that's been going on. So, I have been so depressed. Extremely super depressed. It has affected my work. It's affected pretty much everything, really. And all that good jazz. You know how it is. You know how it goes. I think if I didn't have kids, I would just be in my depression room laying in bed. But I've got kids, so I've got to pry myself up and do something. So I have been working on true crime a little bit. Just, it's been affected. I hope that's okay, and I hope you guys can bear with me. It's just part of life, right? Secondly, I have also become very obsessed with Santa Muerte, and I've been focusing a lot of my free time on researching her instead of true crime, which actually the two are kind of connected. I'm not going to let that work go in vain, though. I think it can go very well in a podcast episode because there's a lot of true crime connections. So just keep an eye out for that. A small blip in change in our topic. Just a little. Just a teeny bit. And yeah, that's pretty much all that's been going on. Changing into the cooler, colder weather. I've been trying to pick up old hobbies that made me happy in hopes to kind of break this monotony of my depression. It's going okay. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know how you guys are doing in the comments. That'd be I haven't really talked to you guys in a very long time. And the people who have been leaving comments are usually just saying hi real quick and then leaving. But let me know what's going on. And if you've got a favorite project you've been working on, I am totally okay with you guys sharing links in the comments and things like that. That's totally fine with me. I'm not opposed to advertisement of your own content in my content. So feel free to do that. I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's take a moment. I think we are ready to talk about the case, and I really want to get into the content warning first. Of course, as usual, as we're talking, I'm still going to give you a heads up if we come across any material that I think might be disturbing to you. And as usual, I'm going to tell you, if you Google this case, you are not likely to see anything graphic. So feel free to go ahead and do that, because I know some of my friends, they don't like to dig into certain cases because they don't want to see anything visually or anything like that. This one should be fairly safe. So my content warning. This case is super sensitive. It involves marginalized and overly sensationalized people, LGBTQ+, trans, black, and women. Please take care of your mental health. Please be sensitive in the comments about this topic, about the people involved and everything about it, especially if you are not part of these communities. I am going to be including mental health resources this time for us at the end of these stories, because this is just intense. And if at any time during this podcast, or if you're reading, if you need a break, take a break. And if you don't want to come back, don't come back. The only thing that I really ask is that you take care of yourself mentally, and if you can, share Tonya Harvey's story. It's very important. It is unsolved, and she really does need justice. And if you need to, you can always share the content, but then turn off comments or turn off the following so that you don't have to deal with any interaction, but you can still be involved in sharing. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to give you a really quick synopsis, and then we're going to do the usual where we dig into the details of the case. So, Tonya Harvey is 35 years old, was murdered on a dead-end street on February 8th, 2018, so this case really isn't that long ago. Buffalo, New York police have made no arrests, named no suspects or persons of interest, and they state the murder was not a hate crime, but family and friends disagree. So, we're going to rewind past the day that she was murdered to talk about some events that came up. On February 4th, Tonya may have seen a murder happen just 4 days before she died. And her mother says, quote, "What she witnessed, she couldn't get out of her mind," unquote. Allegedly, this is very much allegedly, Tonya would consume drugs and then just kind of tell everybody everything that she had seen. And this kind of sparked this rumor that maybe she was talking too much and a hit was taken out on her to stop her from talking about this murder that she had seen. The story goes, the rumor goes, that she was leaving her house to go to the store and a few men were outside. Tonya yelled and then screamed and then she was murdered there. It's possible that she could have yelled out, "I don't have your money or your stuff." Anyway, the only thing that gives this rumor credence is that the Erie County District John Flynn, he's the district attorney, he is investigating the case and he says, yes, they're aware of the rumors. They officially announced that to date they do not know of any eyewitnesses that had seen this event take forward. And they just say, like, yeah, all the information that they've got on this is all just based on rumors. They have nothing concrete here. The only thing that gives this rumor a little bit more credence is that there really was a homicide on the day that Tonya may have seen it. And this homicide is still unsolved as well. It occurred on 134th Wick Street, and the victim's name was Douglas Padre Johnson, according to John Flynn. The victim was rumored to be a doorman for a drug house in Buffalo, New York, and in the news report it said the victim's name is Douglas E. Johnson. So Padre must have been like a nickname or a street name or something like that. He was 47 years old. He was discovered February 6th, 2018, and his body, when it was found, was snow-covered. After examination, it was found that he died of multiple stabbings. Wick Street is also a dead-end street. It is near Broadway and Bailey. It's very close to where Tonya was murdered, by the way. And Crime Stoppers, they did offer up a reward of $2,500 to find any information about this murder, but nothing has come forward. Weirdly enough, Johnson's body was found on the same night Tonya was killed. And again, his death occurred only a few streets from hers. So I think that's really weird. The coincidence is weird. The rumors are weird, but the police don't have anything concrete for this. Yeah. I checked Tonya's Facebook, and the very last post that she has is on February 4th. So the day she would have seen the murder. It's nothing interesting. It's like a food delivery check-in. So, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to the 6th. It's about 5:30, 5 o'clock in the evening, and Tonya is murdered in the street. She is shot multiple times on the dead-end street of Shepherd near Broadway. The police actually arrive pretty quickly, but Tonya is pronounced dead at the scene. Tonya's mother, AV, had just worked a double shift. She'd just come off working 16 hours, and she was just getting home for the night. She settles in to watch TV. She says while she's watching TV, she just feels like this odd connection, because some of it was about, like, angels and signs around her and things like that. And then her son comes banging on the door, scared her, and she answers the door, and that's when she hears the news that her daughter is murdered. I have a quote here if you want to hear it. Quote, "He said, 'They killed her,' and I said, 'Killed who?' He said, 'Boo,' because the family calls Tonya Boo, and I immediately fell out. And I said, 'Well,' and I cried for I don't know how long," unquote. So AV Tonya's mom is just in denial and just unable to process her daughter's death. I mean, it's very sudden. She's asking her son if he had seen Tonya himself, and she learns that he didn't. And the police had identified her by her various markings and tattoos. Avi actually refuses to believe that Tonya was gone until she finally sees her body herself. That night, the news reports Tonya's death, but they initially misgender her. So we're going to roll into February 10th, and the Buffalo News they just now issue a correction on Tonya's gender. And then they do a small announcement that the police are looking into some early leads. We roll into February 11th and the 12th. This is when Avi sees her daughter's body for the first time, but it's at the funeral home. It's not with the police or anything like that. And this is after Tonya's body had been cleaned and prepared. February 12th, Tonya's wake was held at 11 a.m. at the local mortuary. There's more details for this, but let's just kind of scoot on a little bit. The funeral was held on the same day. Prior to Tonya's death, her mother Avi talked about what Tonya would want if she did die early, and the question arose because Avi was worried about her daughter's lifestyle, and Tonya just simply told her mom, quote, "Mom, whatever makes you happy," unquote. So, during this week, it's February 8th-ish, the district attorney is investigating to see if this was a hate crime, because now the story is exploding. It's hitting national news. People are sensationalizing Tonya being murdered. This was all happening during this uptick of violent hate crimes against transgender people. So people were wondering, is this a hate crime? And so they investigate this. There's a rally that's held in the following days, about February 18th, and they're just kind of in limbo, finding out what's going on here. I also found a small tip that kind of falls within this timeline, but I'm going to redact all the information here because I had to turn it in, and I don't know what they want to do with that, so I don't want to ruin anything with this case at all. It's just a very minor tip, but I did turn it in. So, redacting. Okay, so August 18th, this is kind of a long drawn out case, isn't it? So August 18th, they've made a billboard, and this is just friends and family that go out of their way to do this. This isn't the police or anything like that. They make a billboard with Tonya's picture on it, and they're like, speak up. If you saw anything, speak up. They give info for that. Now, it's October 29th. They finally decide that Kate Monroe, a spokesperson for the district attorney's office, announces that Tonya's murder did not appear to be a hate crime, and they declined to comment further on the possible motives, citing it was an open investigation. The police department for Buffalo also declines to comment. Later on that month, Crime Stoppers and the police department offer a $4,000 reward in any information about Tonya's killer or killers, and they ask for tips to be submitted through Crime Stoppers. I don't know if that reward is still active, but you could still submit a tip through Crime Stoppers because, it's there. So maybe you could get a reward for this if you have any info. Now we're rolling into August 2021, and see, I'm really uncomfortable with these big gaps of time between this whole investigation. Other investigations I've seen, the gaps of time are smaller, but I don't know what to think of that. It's just something I've noticed, and I don't really like it. Anyways, August 2021, the district attorney now just publicly admits that they have no evidence for this case. Nothing at all. And that's all I've got to say for the timeline. So we're going to talk about the crime scene, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick heads up. If you don't want to hear any details, go ahead and skip this part. We're going to go ahead and talk about who Tonya Harvey is in a little bit, so you can go ahead and skip, or I'll just see you later. Don't forget to share if you go ahead and bounce out right now. I understand. So we're going to talk about the crime scene. Tonya suffered multiple gunshots. Allegedly, it was about 6 wounds in total from the head, the chest, the back, the bottom, and the genitals. The information about the wounds, oddly to me, was not given by the police, but by the funeral director to Tonya's mother. So the police didn't tell AV, I guess, about what happened to her daughter. And we know that there was 9mm shells on the ground, but in the vicinity of Tonya's body. So I don't know what that means. I guess that means maybe there was some space between her and her killer or killers. The district attorney's office has acknowledged the gun wounds at least. They were asked if the location of the wounds indicated a hate crime. Quote, this is a quote from them. I really hate this quote, but I need to include it because I want you to see how flippant these cases are treated. Quote, it could potentially be, or it could mean the perpetrator was a bad shot. Unquote. How, oh my God. If somebody said that about my loved one, I'd be throwing some hands. That is awful. And for that to come from no, just no. That was not okay the way they answered that question. Anyways, they apparently, we've already talked about this, but they apparently ruled out that this wasn't a hate crime. And AV says that she, as a mother, is imagining that her daughter was trying to run away or turn around, which is why she has wounds in her back and stuff like that. It is unclear what the significance of the location of this crime scene was to Tonya. The news reports that she had no permanent address at this point in her life. Tonya's Facebook indicates that she was a regular around this area, and some of her Facebook lives, you can see her going to like the same exact store. On her daily routine, she seemed to have a very particular routine, and people would drive by her and they knew her name. They would say hi to her and things like that. So she was well known in the area, and according to family, Tonya had been using supportive housing. Also, she would have been well known by the police as well, which is something I find interesting by the way they're treating her, because if they knew her, they seem a little, and I keep using this word, but in my opinion, just a little bit brush off, a little flippant. I don't know, just my opinion. But okay, so what else do I want to discover? Okay, in the news video segments, you can watch the news segments. They're pretty safe to watch. The investigation is happening in the background. You can see the neighborhood that she was murdered in is tightly packed. It's a residential with a very narrow road. There's snow packed onto the streets, and law enforcement is wearing heavy clothing. The area in general seems worn, but also efforts to kind of make it look okay. So during the clips, you can see the police cross caution tape and then go down an alley between the houses. So I'm not really getting a good picture of where the crime scene actually happened by the investigation, because news reports make it sound like she's like literally in the street. Some people say she was like just stepping out of her house. And then here you can kind of see them go down this teeny little alley on this little road. So the scene is Shepherd Street, a dead end off Broadway and 2 blocks away from Bailey Avenue. The Bailey Avenue and Broadway area is very well known for gun violence. 2018 was a particularly deadly year. And if you are interested in that, you can go check out like a list of the area murders for 2018. And that's what I've got for the crime scene. That's pretty much the case in a nutshell. But we can talk about Tonya and who she is and some of her background. We could talk about the possible theories for motives. There are some similar cases we can brush up on, and we'll go ahead and conclude for the evening. But let's go ahead. I think it's really important that we take a moment to just talk about who Tonya Harvey is, because she's the victim here, and in my opinion, it feels like the police and authorities are trying to just brush her story away, and we don't want that. She was an important person, and we need to make sure she's talked about. So, let's do that. I basically wrote her a massive obituary because she deserves it. So let's do it. Tonya Harvey, in her own words, used in AKA, which is why some people might not know her by Tonya Harvey, but rather her other names like Kida Harvey, pronounced Kita. Sorry if my accent, I just say it this way. Family would call her Boo, and others would have given her even more nicknames like Freckles or the Black Cameron Diaz. Tonya may have used other AKAs, but it seems like she just wanted to be known as Tonya or even Kita the most. So keep that in mind, please. Please use the names that she would prefer and pronouns that she wanted, okay? So Tonya was born to her father, M.H., and mother, A.V., and was 35 years old when she died on February 6th, 2018, about 5 p.m. in Buffalo, New York. Tonya has at least one younger brother by 6 years, along with many extended friends and family that were by choice by her. She made her own family, so that's great. As a child, Tonya lived in Fairy Grinder homes in Donovan Drive. This is just not a good place for her, and she was bullied regularly. Other children used to use homophobic slurs and physically attack her. Parents would go out of their way to tell Tonya's mother that her child was gay. AV would disagree with them and say things like, quote, "I was like, she's a kid. She should be able to do what she wants to do." Or, sorry, I got carried away. She's a kid. She should be able to do what she wants to do. So, unquote. AV knew that she had to get Tonya out of that area along with her younger brother after seeing all this bullying. So she worked her butt off and she got a first apartment on Bugard Street and then into a home on Bailey and Kensington. AV worked as a nursing assistant for the New York State Department of Corrections for nearly 20 years. Tonya grew up in Buffalo and attended Lafayette High School. Tonya, like all the teens, was a little rebellious and would sneak out of the house. Sometimes she went to the club Marcella, and other times she went to the hair salon on Main Street. The Main Street hair salon is an important place to Tonya. She met her friend and mentor, VM, there, and they had a very strong relationship that was like a father and a daughter. Tonya would call VM her dad, and he would advocate and help for her. VM would talk to Tonya's mother, who struggled with her faith and her daughter's identity. VM now owns his own hair salon on Main Street called Garth Beauty. Quote, "Honestly, I gravitated towards Kita because so many people in the community kind of did not like her. She was a lot to deal with at the time, and I felt like I could take her underneath my wing before somebody really hurts her." Unquote. She graduates high school, and Tonya attempts to join the armed forces. However, she wasn't eligible, and she found out she had a medical condition that could have been life-threatening. Tonya transitioned in her 20s, and she enjoyed traveling around the country, visiting places like Alaska, California, and Atlanta. Tonya lived outside of Atlanta for a short period of time. Throughout her life, Tonya was spiritual and optimistic. According to her mother, she had been a faithful Christian throughout her whole life, and this trait uplifted those around her. And I watched a lot of Tonya's videos. I found that this is true. Everything she said almost had just a spiritual, very godly quality to it. So whatever she did in her life, it seemed like she did her best to put her God first. So I think that's pretty amazing. Tonya experienced life hardships and used drugs. AV attempted to help by giving her daughter consequences, such as not being allowed to live with her, but she would still go out of her way to check up on her daughter. AV would get off work, and then she would just scour the streets looking for her daughter. Then she would have to, check abandoned houses and stuff like that. I'm telling you these things not to paint Tonya in a bad light, but I just want to show you, like, the kind of lives that a lot of people in that are transgender have to go through because other people around them make things hard. And AV, you can see, is a great mom, and I wanted to highlight that too because she really tried. Even though she had struggles with her daughter's identity and her Christian faith, she still didn't, like, just get rid of Tonya. She went out of her way to try to take care of her and keep her safe. It's just that the world was just so harsh and hard on Tonya that really took a toll on her. And not just her, but a lot of people who were in this position. So I'm telling you these things not to try to, like, paint Tonya in a bad way, but just because I want you to see that this is normal and it really kind of needs to change. But I think the more people like me just take what the info is and give it to you how it is, you're not going to know what's going on outside of your own bubble. So, okay, sorry, rant over. Let's talk about Tonya some more. So yeah, her mom would go and check abandoned houses as soon as she got off work, making sure that Tonya was okay. Tonya engaged in sex work for survival. This is also something that comes up a lot for transgender people. This is something that they have to do, and I think that it would be good to start decriminalizing this, good to start taking that moral compass that, you know, everybody says is just, this is an awful line of work and all blah, blah, blah. Okay, some people have to do it to survive, and I think that just needs to be talked about. You shouldn't condemn her because of what she had to do to survive, you know? So she goes through rehab for drugs. And while she's there, she focuses on her poetry and her creativity and God to get her through this. Drugs and sex work tend to be an on and off cycle for her, and as is other people in situations like this. So, because of this, Tonya had encountered violence before against her. She confided in her mom, and she tells her of the hardships that she had to go through. Like, in New York, she survived an encounter with a man who just tied her up and threatened her with a gun. Then, a hotel along Niagara Falls Boulevard, she said that she got robbed violently by people that she knew. So, she wasn't a stranger to this harsh world. Tonya's family thinks that drugs contributed to her death. The more she used the drugs, the less and less she would see her family, so then that means the support system that they had for her was kind of thinner if she was kind of giving them space. So that sucks. And where was I going with that? Oh, at the time of her death, nobody knew where she was really or who she had been hanging out with in those last few days, so that she might have been in one of those dips in her on-again, off-again cycle. 1 week before her death, Tonya visited her adopted father, VM, at the hair salon, and she said, quote, "Dad, I just wanted to say I love you, and I needed to use the bathroom," unquote. And VM said he replied, "I love you too, and be safe." Tonya was absolutely beautiful, and her friends would say she's like a showstopper. She was into pageants and shows, and Tonya and her friend EMJ were inspired by the documentary Paris is Burning. Tonya would walk for ballroom fashion competitions, but I guess her talent was better for cabaret style shows. If you want to see some of her performances, check out her Facebook. She really is a star. Very amazing person. Tonya would even make her own clothes and design outfits, and she would do a lot of things to support the LGBTQ plus community. Tonya was an inspiration to young trans people, and she was a trailblazer in her community. Consistently, she could be relied upon to help people. Tonya's friend AM, and LGBTQ plus advocates said that Tonya never did wrong to people. When life was hard for her, she reached out to others by paying off their bills or buying items that they needed. AV, her mom, was impressed by her daughter's ability to just forgive people. Like Tonya's father, who is now deceased, would steal from his family to buy drugs. And he was a physically violent person with the family, but yet graceful Tonya forgave him. Tonya, in my opinion, is just a precious jewel. She was really important to the community. She was shining and valuable, full of personality. This world is at loss without her, and Tonya's talents were just immeasurable. From being able to sing, dance, write, perform, design, model, her kindness, this woman was creative, and her possibilities, they were just infinite. Tonya was passionate, outgoing, and a little bit loud in the best way possible. Tonya had wanted to become a public speaker so that she could share her story. Mother AV said that in the future she might publish some of Tonya's written works. In the meantime, share what you can about her now, because her story does need to get out there. She can inspire other people still, and hopefully we can get justice for her family, basically. That being said, that's what I've got to say about who Tonya was, and I hope that helped paint a better picture of her so that maybe you will take a moment to learn about this and some of the hardships that people like Tonya and her community go through. Let's talk about the motives for this case real quick. There's not that many. Basically, obviously, Tonya was well loved and she was well liked. And because of this, it kind of leads to speculation about who could even want her dead. Her hate crime is on the top of the public opinion motivation theory. During 2018, there was that big upswing against violence against transgender people in the community and country. Tonya had actually been the third trans person to be murdered in America in less than a month. Law enforcement ruling it out as a hate crime, but the theory still is existing among the friends and family. And just like her mom said, quote, anyone that could kill her daughter in that manner was driven by hate. And I agree. So, and the other two theories was that she was silenced for the murder that she witnessed, or it was something to do with the drugs or the sex work. That's it. That's all the motives that we have on the table. Similar cases also are very in short supply. There was a 19-year-old that was shot February 19th of 2018. That took place at 1 a.m. and it was on the same block as well, but there's no other connections. And then, of course, the transgender connection, so there was other similar cases happening in the country. So, yeah, the area was violent, that's for sure. According to DailyRepublic.com, Tonya's homicide was actually the first in the year, but in 2017 there was 3 homicides on New Year's Day alone. So, and then, of course, we already talked about this guy, but the Douglas E. Johnson Padre person. So, those are the similar cases. And that's pretty much what we have to talk about today. As usual, somebody knows something, and her mother wants her death to mean something. So we really need to get this case solved. I personally think there's just no way that somebody did not see something that day because of just how small that community is and how tightly packed the neighborhood is. Somebody had to have seen something there. The only thing that makes me worry is that they gave out a big cash reward, but then nobody took the reward, and you can totally get that reward anonymously, by the way. You don't have to put yourself out there. So that means, to me, people were scared. And what would they be scared of? More than like the police or doing the right thing? In my opinion, probably something organized. So like a gang or something like that. That's just my opinion, though. Either way, I highly urge that a witness comes forward. You can't take away something like Tonya Harvey and not have an answer for her family or the hole that was left behind, because she was an important person. So if you know something, I really hope you come forward. You can do it anonymously. Even if you just drop the tip anonymously, you can do it. So I think that Tonya had routines she followed, and I mean, people, they have to know something. Somebody knows something. So check out Crime Stoppers, newyork.org, if you want to turn in an anonymous tip. If you can't bear a witness, at least share the case, and all that matters is that you honor her name and her story somehow. And try not to sensationalize everything, but at the same time, get her justice. And if you really want to help, take a moment to write the District Attorney Office of Buffalo and tell them to please keep investigating Tonya's murder. That way they don't just kind of brush it into the back corner there. And lastly, don't forget that if you need some mental health resources, because I know these kind of cases, talking about them and everything like that can put a strain on people who are in this community, take a moment to check those resources out, or take a break at least. I appreciate you guys' support on my podcast. I hope that I am doing well for you guys. If there's something I'm doing that you think I could do better, or I'm annoying you in some way, just let me know and I will try my best to help you out. And the best way to support me and this channel is to give me a follow. It's free. Give me a like and a comment. That will help feed the algorithm gods. If you want to do monetary gifts, I do have a way you can do that. I've got like a link tree. You can check out that kind of stuff. I'm currently saving up for the Hemingway editor so that my writing won't be so shite. And anything extra is probably going to go into self-care stuff, and if I have anything left over from that, then I do charities after that. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening to Ominously Positive. I hope I did a good job. Halloween is coming up, isn't it? So have a happy and safe Halloween. Bye, guys. Mwah, mwah, mwah.